Wool, concrete, dyes. All important items for making vibrant builds and colorful blocks, and I have just about 0 of these items after being in this world for over 4 years. I've been challenging myself this year to use more color in my builds. I'm really a stone brick with spruce wood kind of guy. I like it a lot. Or deep slate with spruce wood, or really anything with spruce wood. I lean on spruce wood way too much. So today we need to make some farms in my base, specifically as many dye farms as we can, and a fully automated sheep farm, and some kind of concrete maker. And with this build, we're going to try to use as many colorful blocks as possible, so let's get started. So where are all these farms going? So I think I want it here on the second level of my base. It's pretty slim pickings for space here. I have the tree farm over here on this side, the iron farm on the other side, and on the opposite side of the iron farm, I have this emerald vault, which is right underneath my villager trading hall. I may need to move this at some point, but there is one more empty wing over here, which is practically a blank canvas. There is a small problem though with this location. This wing is right underneath my potion brewer upstairs, and then right past the potion brewer is my moat that I haven't finished yet, so there's a bit of a ceiling issue here. So my plan is to have kind of up front in this area here all the dye farms that I can fit, since those should be a bit smaller, and then a long tunnel coming off of the dye farms with all the sheep and unique colors for them. And then we'll have to find a space for the concrete maker afterwards. Okay, so I want to be able to farm as many of these dyes here at the base as possible. I don't want to set up a lot of farms in different biomes. I know that some people like to make flower farms in flower forests because you're able to get like so many different dyes in one spot, but I really want to do it all from here. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out exactly what dyes are craftable and farmable here on this biome. The easiest is the sunflower, the lilac, the peony, and the rose bushes, which are all the 2 tall flowers. So you could just click on these and get infinite amounts of these with bone meal. And these will get the red, pink, magenta, and yellow dyes respectively. So between those and the ones that you're able to craft, like orange from red and yellow, that knocks out about like half the list. Or actually like a third of the list, not half the list. But the next one that we can farm up is cocoa beans. So these can grow directly on jungle logs. And I don't actually know if you can bone meal these. You can. Okay, so you can oops. So you could bone meal these, but it doesn't look like you can automatically like farm them by like clicking with bone meal, so we have to probably use like a piston to break this or something like that, but we can get cocoa beans renewed. And so the last one that you can automatically farm is sea pickles, which I didn't know this gives you lime dye if you smelt it, which will save us on some white dye in the future. But I don't actually know. Now I'm clicking this, it doesn't look like you can bone meal this directly. So let's try to bone meal this in some water. I'm pretty sure there's a way to bone meal this. Oh, I already have some right here. No, I'm clicking it here, and this isn't bone mealing either. I might have to look this up. Okay, I just looked it up. It's able to be bone mealed, but you have to do it on coral directly. That's not doing anything. Oh, okay. So if you have one, oh my god, I keep doing the fireworks in here. So if you have one sea pickle on here, you could bone meal it, and it'll actually turn into a full set of 4. So that's actually a pretty good ratio for just one bone meal. You can get 3 pickles for free. So between those dyes, the other ones that are completely farmable are obviously green. And so we already have a cactus farm. Oh my. We already have a cactus farm over here in the world. Actually, we just saw one pop off there. It's a very simple one, but it's been going for quite a while. I built it a while ago. It's going into these chests here, which is not the most pretty setup, but it is filled. Oh my god, this is full of cactuses. Oh my god, it's almost full of cactuses. So we got to do something with these, but we're already farming green dye, which is pretty good. And then bone meal. So I have this farm here. This is being used for my tree farm, but this is a moss to bone meal farm. And this works really, really well, but there's no real place for me to collect this because all the bone meal that comes out of this goes directly into like all the hoppers for the tree farm down here. So the main source of bone meal that I've been using for like various different like plants and trees and stuff is actually coming from my iron farm down here. I upgraded this recently to turn the roses from the bone meal or the roses from the iron golems rather into bone meal. There's none in here, but that's because it's in a shulker box loader. So this actually needs to fill up first in order to get me bone meal. But I did have a full box come from this already. But I might need to chunk load this area in the future if I want more bone meal, because I think this is just out of range of some of the projects that I've been doing away from the base, so it's not actually getting me all the bone meal that I want. Some unfarmable colors I think are blue. I don't actually think that there's a way to get just straight up blue dye aside from just lapis, which we have kind of a bunch of, but not the most in the world. And then the large majority of the colors are just more combinations of each other, but the most difficult one to get is actually the black dye. So we have sort of the first shape of the room starting to take form. So my kind of vision for this is that this front area here is going to be reserved for farming the dyes that are able to be farmed inside this base. So over here, we would have those flowers that are able to be just straight up bone mealed in here and some storage for those. And then over here on the other side, sort of the more complicated ones, the cocoa beans and the sea pickles. And then also we might have an area for like an auto crafter or something like that to be able to kind of craft all of the other dyes, because that pretty much encompasses all of them. Again, except for black though, because that one we just can't farm here. There's no way to do like a wither farm here, or rather I don't want to do a wither farm here. And then I can't really farm squids inside of Mushroom Island. And then past that, that's going to be where the wool farm is going to be. So that's going to be planned a little bit later. But for now, I think let's just start building some farms. Okay, so we have the beginnings of my dye farm here. The design is pretty simple, but with a flick of this lever, all of the plants get bone meal to produce infinite dyes. This works by having an observer pulsing over some dispensers that are full of bone meal, and the dispensers are fed bone meal from this hopper line here from this chest. And when it produces flowers, they're picked up underneath the mud through these hoppers, up this water stream, and then into the individual item sorters. Now all I need to do is dress this place up, and I really want to challenge myself to use some non-typical blocks here. Okay, so I was playing around with glazed terracotta for the floor. I hate it. First of all, it's horrible, but I'm really wondering why the orange glazed terracotta is so blue. It kind of kills any gradient that I wanted to make between the red and the yellow ones, which are actually really nice. But as I build this, I'm starting to realize there's a reason that I don't really use these blocks all that much. Okay, I don't mean to yank my own chain or anything, but I think we might be cooking here, guys. So I dressed this area up. I finally figured out how to use the glazed terracotta, and I feel like the best way to kind of use it in this case is to just be kind of sparing with it. So I used it for highlights for each of the dyes. So like red through the magenta here, it's just behind the blocks. And I even used these item frames here. They're not really necessary. You could obviously tell what color it is, but it kind of hides some of the glazed terracotta and keeps it kind of less busy. And then I did the same thing right above all the flowers. So I just put their respective colors above it. Now for the flooring, I went for a more neutral vibe since the quartz kind of really makes it pop out here. So the flooring is a bit neutral, but it still kind of uses the same colors. It uses the red to match the red, and the birch kind of matches like a little bit of the orangey yellow tones. And I think this came out really good. I'm super happy with this. And I think it honestly is going to set the course for the rest of the farms. Now over here, I did something different. So the blue colors for the most part can't be auto farmed. I don't think there's a way to get any of the blue colors. So they really just all need kind of like lapis, and the purple needs blue and green, I think. So in this case, I'm just going to have some storage on the wall here, just so I can have kind of like a full gradient of all the colors. I'm going to put these blocks here, as well as like the black to white gradients, like the black and the light gray and the gray and the white. Those don't have an auto farm really that I could do at the base here. So those are just going to be kind of stored like the blues are. So I think all that's left to do on this side is to do that sea pickle farm for the lime dye and a cocoa bean farm for the brown dye. And all the remaining dyes, like the greens and the whites, we can bring from other areas of the base over here into storage, whether that's just through kind of shulker box loaders or a minecart system or something like that. Okay, so we've gone on and finished the second half of this room here. And before we go into any detail on any of this stuff, I really have to know why so many of the glazed terracottas have blue in it. So not only does the orange have blue in it, but also the white and the gray, and for some reason the brown has a huge amount of blue in it. Whoever was making these terracotta designs clearly has a favorite color, and I just want to know why it's like this. Not really complaining though, because actually I do really like how these came out. So like we have over there with the blues, I have the white to black gradient here with the terracotta and just some storage for all of the dyes within the shulker boxes here. In the future, we're going to probably need to make a much better bone meal farm and a black dye farm as well. But this project has a lot more going on with it, so that'll have to come at a later time. But coming over here, we have 2 farms. So over here, we have a cocoa bean farm, and this is my own design. So the way that this works is you come here, you flick the lever, and you put the cocoa beans on here. And there's 2 dispensers on the top and bottom of this that will bone meal the cocoa beans. It's not the fastest in the world, and it's only like a single cocoa bean, but I don't foresee myself needing a lot of brown dye in the future, so this will work just fine. And then over here, we have a sea pickle farm. So I could flick this switch and just basically hold my mouse, click and break buttons at the same exact time, and it will just instantly make sea pickles. Actually, I have to be like a little bit slower about it, because I think if I'm like holding both clicks at the same time, I have to, yeah, I actually kind of have to like leave it and break it. And it's out of bone meal. I can't foresee myself needing really a lot of these in the future. I might tweak this a little bit more. If I add a couple more dispensers, I might be able to have it be completely instant break with like my mouse clicked and breaking at the same time. But for now, this will work. And then we have just storage for green dye that came from our cactus farms. Not going to go too in depth into the redstone on these. If you want this, you could download the world from my Discord channel. That'll be updated after the episode, but the redstone's pretty simple. It's just some clocks that go around to the dispensers and some observers that just bone meal things, and this is pretty much the same design as the flower farm on the other side. Okay, 2 more things before we get into the sheep farm. I have this barrel here that I was using to just store a couple things for the build, and I've actually never seen the backside of barrels before. This is a really cool, unique texture. I didn't know it was kind of like spruce wood, but with like a framing around it. I'm gonna have to use this for some walls in the future. And the other thing that I wanted to also show is kind of how tight everything is in my base here. So this is the flooring of the potion room that's right above this room. I wasn't able to do a custom ceiling in here just because of, you know, this was the floor. But also, like, these things here, these barrels are for my potions from the potion farm. Like, everything is like right up against here. Even some of the redstone is like touching some of the redstone of the potion brewer. And that's just kind of how I operate. I don't really plan these builds out super far in advance, so it leads to a lot of happy little accidents in here, but it really works, and I kind of love the character that it brings the base. Oh, and one more thing. I have these lights hidden underneath here in the corner. I was actually using these pale moss carpets here, and it actually really blends with these tough bricks. It's like a very similar color palette, and I really like how it kind of hides it. If you're not looking at it directly, you don't even kind of notice it's here. But now what's up next is the wolf farm, and this is really going to be the centerpiece of this entire wing of the base here. And this I actually have some really huge plans for, so I think for this we're going to have to hit the time lapse. And for the big reveal, drum roll please. Boom. Is this not the most colorful room you've ever seen in this game, or what? So this is our sheep farm here. It has one of these chambers for each different sheep in the game for all 16 colors. And each of the chambers has, theming around what the color actually is. And that's usually like 1 to 3 different blocks of the same color. And I really love how this room came together. I used a ton of blocks that I've never used before in building, and I think it really all came together super well, especially when it came to things like coral or crying obsidian. Like I never use these in any of my builds, so it was really fun to play around with it here. And so I had to come up with 16 different unique color palettes for this. And interestingly enough, the colors that had the least amount of options were light blue. Really, the only blocks that I could find that were light blue are ice blocks, aside from like light blue concrete and wool and stuff like that. Ice I had to do both on the ceiling and on the floor, and then just regular blue I had to do coral on the floor, and then lapis. There really was no other just blue blocks, but cyan had a ton. It had the warped wood and it had the copper, and it also had prismarine bricks and things like that. But I think it all came together super well. It has even this goofy little rainbow at the end here. And before I started this, I didn't even realize it was June and Pride Month, so that was just a happy little coincidence. So this works pretty basically. There's the sheep that are in here that are forever sheared and locked into these cages, but as soon as they chomp on the grass here that grows, a dispenser behind it is just going to shear them, and then all their wool just ends up in the shulker boxes here. And then if and when any of these shulker boxes fill up, I could just break them and then put them in this room here. I just have 16 slots of barrels corresponding with the blocks that are on the ceiling over here. I'll never need this much wool in my entire lifetime, but, you know, we have infinite storage for it. And going into the redstone, to actually get behind there, you can just click this button and it opens up both the redstone to the other builds and the wool farm back here. And it's some pretty basic stuff. There's just an observer that's on the grass block that then powers the dispenser here, and that just goes all the way down to the end here. And then down here, so this block right here is what's underneath the sheep. So there's just a hopper minecart here that could pick up the wool from the sheep, and then it just loads it into a dispenser clock here, which shoots the items up into the shulker boxes above. But by far the coolest part of this redstone here are these lamps here. So these are actually functional and will tell me different things about the farm. Primarily though, these chests up here have all the shears, so these get fed into the dispensers. These are what obviously shear the sheep. But if I ever run out of these lights will turn off. So if I ever wanted to check at a glance which ones have run out of shears, then I could just look down this hallway and see which ones need to be filled up and then just fill it up. But again, I don't think I'll ever need this much wool in my entire life, but I had an absolute blast building this. And lastly, we have over here just a quick little concrete farm. This isn't my design. I'll put the design up on the screen right now for whose design I used, but it's pretty simple. All you do is just grab some of the concrete from the dropper here, throw it in your offhand, and then if you just hold both right click and left click at the same time on this stair, you just break and place the concrete instantly, and then as it's coming through, the dispenser above me is dropping more concrete into my inventory, so I'll never run out of concrete, and I could pretty much just AFK this, and then all the drops just end up in this chest down here. Concrete really isn't something that I build a ton with. I find it pretty flat and uninspiring, but there are benefits to using it, so if I ever need it, I have it here. And the downside of using 16 different color palettes with about 32 different unique blocks is that the cleanup for this project is going to be intense. I already started it on the side, but just the amount of unique blocks that I have to just run around my storage room with is insane. Okay, so getting into today's comment of the day, Mr. Black and Yellow Productions asked, another question, do you have any true regrets regarding you not posting the start of your Forever World to this YouTube channel? And this is an absolutely amazing question. So I started this world with some friends over 4 years ago, and you know, I just started posting about it on YouTube and on TikTok just this year, only about 6 months ago, and I've grown such a great community here of people, but you know, it's a lot of catching up to do. I've shown a lot of the world through short form content, a world tour on this channel, but you guys really missed the beginning of this world. And that's honestly kind of a bummer because, you know, you won't ever see some of the things that I set up early on, and I'm sure some of the stuff is completely just lost to time. And when I started content creation, I really considered starting a brand new world. I just had way too many memories in this world, and to be honest, I kind of started the content creation thing just to share with you guys what I was working on the side, but it quickly turned into building things together, designing things, building a community, growing it, and now I'm sharing, you know, Let's Plays on YouTube. So you guys have missed a lot of stuff. There's a lot of catching up to do, but there's still a ton of plans. I have years worth of plans for this world, so I promise you didn't miss anything. And if you like and subscribe and follow this world more, I promise I won't disappoint. Okay, and now to cap it all off, we'll put it in our tree here. We're starting to fill up on our first set of books here. We have a lot to go all the way up to the top there. See you guys in the next one.